All righty, we're back again with another spectacular episode of the Chatterbox with yours truly, King Jacob. And I have, oh wow, this is something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, so I can get a better insight on the identity of my black queens and also so, we can get this message out to the masses because it seems like along the way, some of the true identity has been lost when it comes to our black queen. So, um, first of all, we're gonna, go and let people introduce themselves so the audience can get familiar, with the guests. And so we'll just start with you, Dr. Hakima, so you can introduce yourself to the world, and then we'll go as followed.
Okay. Well, thank you for inviting me. My name is Dr. Hakima Muhammad. I am co-founder of Royal Empress, and that's an organization where we are striving to emotionally, mentally, morally, and spiritually elevate our Black women across the globe. We have a podcast called Conversations with the Royal Empress, and we have some very deep spiritual, political topics. I mean, we talk about some everything, anything that affected Black women, we're going to talk about. So, um, enough said.
I love it. Thank you for having me back, Jacob. My name is Qiana Williams. I am the CEO of Goddess Media, as well as the hostess, along with my host DJ FMI of VPR Radio, where we cover a lot of similar topics. Dr. Muhammad, we love to talk about, unifying our community and really getting the knowledge out on a grander scale of how to educate yourself and pay attention to what's really going on, and bring some inspiring people to the forefront to be able to celebrate their works and what they're doing to help build our community. So thank you for having me here on this panel of beautiful and knowledgeable women.
All right.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tricia Bailey. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, and also in North Carolina. I live in both cities, as I said before. I am an entrepreneur and also a CEO of my own business. I own and operate a salon in North Carolina, and my salon is called I kind of like that. It's called Crown Salon, and my whole thing is that I'm trying to make women feel that they are beautiful, and I want them to help them restore their crowns. Okay, so that's me.
I am Zetra Montsho. I am the president of Street Legend Productions, which is a mass media company. I also sit on the board of a nonprofit, I Am the Change. I also have my own company, Empowered Queen Within, and I also have a poetry book called First I Had to Meet Me.
Can I just say, do you see how everyone's business name is so powerful?
Yes.
Empress, the crown, like this is no joke right here. I love it. I'm feeling all of this energy.
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
indeed.
So,
You did good, Jacob. You did good.
so for the recap of people who just tuned in, I am, Jacob W. Anderson II, owner operator of Kennard Music Management, Kennard Media. I also write for Access Magazine. I sit on the board of directors of Unique Blessings Nonprofit out of Charlotte, North Carolina, where we fight against human trafficking, sex trafficking, domestic violence, sexual assault, with a focus on the at-risk youth. And so I just like to welcome you all once again. So to get into this topic, the identity of a Black woman. What does a Black woman see when she look at a mirror? Do the Black women understand that the spiritual identity and the physical identity has to coexist together? They have to go hand in hand. And so with that little spiel that I just ran down, Dr. Muhammad, I'm gonna go ahead and let you chime in, and we'll go as follow around the panel.
So you want me to answer what do we see when we look in the mirror?
Right, and what
Okay.
is the identity? And what is the identity of a black woman? Like, how do the black woman understand the identity that she possesses?
Oh, okay. Well, for one, I mean, when we look in the mirror, we have a self-hatred issue. So we have a self-hatred issue. We know we taught 666 is evil, it's the devil. But if you understand that 666 is the formula of melanin. So if you got me hating myself at the molecular level, everything I do, how I see myself, how I see someone who looks like me, it's going to be from a standpoint of self-hatred. Here it's 6 neutrons, 6 electrons, 6 protons, and you telling me 666 is negative. So every thought that I think, every action that I make, I think negative about myself. And when I do look in the mirror and want to see positivity, what makes me love myself is the more that I can reflect white femininity, that's when I start to have this fake love for myself. So when we look in the mirror, we don't even know what we're looking at. We're blinded by self-hatred.
Ooh, so how does the being blinded, the being programmed by society, um, where does that start at? Does that start on the confliction that once a mother is carrying the child, they're so unhappy with the pregnancy? Like, what does that really start at? You know, because Queen, I have to get better insight, you know, because, you know, understanding this means so much to me as a male, because, you know, I come from you. You know what I mean? Without you, there is no me. So I have to understand in depth.
Well, I'd love to address that. I think it's a very loaded question, right? Because even though you can look at it on a grand scale, you also have to look at where you are, where you've been. I think, you know, how we may have identified with ourselves at 20 is hopefully not the same way we would look at ourselves at 30 or 35 or 40, you know. So I think that there's growth and development. But you hit on a question that for me was very charged in regards to where does that all begin? It begins in your home, right? So for me personally, my experience was a constant conflict with the person that birthed me, where I couldn't understand where the contribution of the conflict came from. So it was a constant, you know, tearing down. And when you have someone tearing you down and you already have society tearing you down, you're born with strikes against you. If you're a Black woman, you know, I'm a light-skinned woman. A lot of people assume that I'm Latina, and I'm not. I'm biracial, but I was raised in a Black home in projects around Black and Puerto Rican people. So I was never able to identify with the Caucasian side, but speaking eloquently, you know, enjoying education became like, oh, you're a white girl. And for me, it's just, this is how deep it goes within our community, where you'll associate being knowledgeable and being able to speak well with Caucasian. So like Dr. Muhammad said, trying to emulate, you know, or as a woman, emulate what you think is right, and then being torn down even by your own community, just in trying to get better than where you are, you know. So there's such a constant amount of tension that's brewing within our own selves, yet alone within woman against woman. I mean, I even see on Facebook, there's constantly men posting like, why do Black women such and such? Why do Black, you know, men such and such? You can't put our kings or our queens in a whole box and try to address it, right? Because if you haven't had the knowledge, you haven't had the education, conducted some self-education to learn who you truly are, you need somebody to teach you instead of judging you. And I think that that's where the difference begins in how we raise our children. Like Dr. Muhammad also said, you know, if the woman is out of control, the children are out of control. It's very, very true. It's all a cycle.
I agree. It is a cycle. And I think another thing is different generations. You have those generations that are raising kids to fit in and not encouraging them to learn about themselves, to be different, because the fact that they came from a place where they were so afraid to be themselves, they wanted to just blend in, whether it was with other cultures, you know, they wanted to blend into that, and you were told not to stand out. So that's what was passed down. And that's what I dealt with as far as within my own family. You know, my mother had me young, so she's trying to find herself, but my grandmother had a big part in that. And she was during the time of Martin Luther King and segregation. So her whole thing is, you need to try to fit in. You need to get an education, and, you know, you get relaxers, you straighten your hair, you do this, and this is how you fit in. And it wasn't so much when I try to be myself, it's like, oh no, that's not what we do, because the people aren't going to like that. They're not going to like you for this. So she didn't too much raise that to have our own voice, to find yourself beautiful. You had to look at, you know, other standards of this is what beauty is. Once you reach their standards, that's how you know you're beautiful. That's how you know you're successful. That's how you know you know, quote unquote, made it, is when we, you know, go by their standards rather than ourselves. So I think that became a cycle as well because of that fear. And you see the same thing with people that come over to this country. They give their children American names. Some of them won't even teach their children their home language because they want their kids to be Americanized. And you see that here within our own culture. We want to have that American dream. We don't want to stand out, and we're afraid to stand out.
Let me say, I think I agree with everyone on the panel. I have been in the beauty industry for 40 years, and I've seen a lot of things, you know, evolve over the years, since from the 80s up until today. And I noticed what's going on with the women today. I see a lot of cookie cutters. You know what I mean by cookie cutters, meaning that everybody wants to look the same. And me as a female, black female, I never raised my daughter to be a cookie cutter person. I raised her to be your own individual self, meaning that you know, you might have your hair straight, but still let your natural hair, your natural beauty come out. And I think a lot of women now, they're afraid to let their natural beauty show. They're so used to being in this cookie cutter world, and they think that's acceptable. But I don't think that that's acceptable. So I think we need to teach our daughters that they need to be individuals, and they need to look their you know, continue to look in their own way, you know, the way they want to be. I think a lot of young girls are afraid. They're afraid of what somebody might say to them or might think about them. But I think we as women, we still need to have our own, you know, individuality in ourselves.
Interesting. So from the time that our Black women recognize the identity crisis, that's what I'm gonna call it, the identity crisis. You know, not thinking that they're beautiful, or not thinking that they're good enough for society, or the verbal dismantle from the parent. You make me sick. You look just like your daddy. I can't stand the sight of you, you know, because you remind me so much of him. And so coming up hearing that, you know, that's an identity crisis. That's an identity crisis that puts a damperage on one loving self. And so if you're coming up not loving self, and the woman that gave birth to you makes you feel so unpretty, makes you feel like you was a mistake. And so I think that registers with, you know, having identity issues. And so with the mental pain, the emotional pain, and having no spiritual enlightenment, how does that affect the identity of a Black woman?
Well, it starts before the child is outside the body.
Right.
It goes back to the womb. Like, there's a science to giving birth to a child. You just don't get pregnant and then the baby come out. Now you're supposed to do these wonderful things, and the baby's supposed to be productive. Everything goes. All life originates from thought. So if the mother don't think enough of herself, if she don't love herself, if she's dealing with a wounded womb, then whatever she thinks is going to affect the child, because those thoughts make up the child. Whoever she lay down with and formed a union with to have that child is going to affect that child. So it goes back beyond when the child is outside the womb. It goes back when the child is in the womb. So if we're not, it's like when a woman is pregnant, she ain't supposed to go to no funeral. You don't put the child in a deaf environment. It's like when a woman's pregnant, there's certain things she's supposed to be eating. It's certain environments she's supposed to be in. And there's certain people that's supposed to be around her. Like, we've gotten so far away from our African traditions. Our identity starts in the womb. So if you didn't get it in the womb, in the shaping of who you are, you're not going to have it once you get out. And you can't look to the wounded mother or the woman that has the toxic womb or the wounded womb to do anything for you productive, because she's in a situation she needs healing. So we're doing this, we're passing down generational trauma. So until the Black womb is healed, ain't nothing productive coming out of that womb, nothing. And that's not just on the physical level, that's on a spiritual and emotional level. Until we address the abuse of our womb, we will never, ever, community ever get better.
So,
Wow.
I just want to chime in.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to chime in on before you go. So you address some things that I don't hear most people talk about, as far as conversations like this whole panel conversation. Is no way that I can call up a group of my homegirls and say, let's sit down and talk about something that's real. They're gonna look at me like, Jacob, I just thought we was just catching up to see what's been going on. I don't know about that. Why you want to talk about something like this? Because it's real, So with that identity crisis, you said that a pregnant woman shouldn't go to a funeral. There's certain things that she should partake in her body. There's certain things that should register in her mind on more of an intellectual and a spiritual level while she's carrying a child. And so,
yeah, it's called How to Give Birth to a God. That's a science.
Right. So
we are scientific and a mathematical people. We've gotten away from that.
Right. So why does this not happen the way it used to happen? I can really I can say that when I was growing up and we be at my grandmother's house, there's certain music you couldn't listen to. There's certain television shows you couldn't watch. And you definitely was not going to be in grown people conversations. So how did we get that? How did we get away from that? And why is this not being taught nowadays? Like back in the day, it was taught, like taught. So, and how did we get away from that? And how did we let society, take over our mind and put stuff in the minds and hearts of mothers and of children? And so how do people get that identity back so they can rebrand and restructure themselves to understand what the true identity of a Black woman should be?
Well, I would love to address that, because I think we need to look at two major events in this country. One, which was slavery, right? The physical slavery of our people. And then segregation, We go back to the 40s, the 50s, 30s. We were a community, and we were banded with one another, even if it were led by fear of protecting each other. We knew that we had to look out for one another. There was mutual respect. We worked in a unified manner, right? Once we became integrated into society, not even on a full level of having equity, but just being able to have certain freedoms that gave us that sense of complacency, we dismissed that sense of community and of connection. And then we're following, like Dr. Muhammad said, by design, what went from being physical slavery to mental slavery. And it's generational, and it carries over, and it is a mindset. And until you identify the fact that you're actually caught up in that mindset, whether it be a broke mindset or a mindset of having hindrance to what you can accomplish because you haven't been taught that you can think outside the box and that you can accomplish dreams, that you can think bigger. These are the constraints that many of us are born with and living under based on the trauma experienced by our ancestors and by the people that created us. And until we learn and identify that we're broken and that we have to be unique and we have to be separate from what all of the other machines are spitting out, we got to go against the grain. You know, for me, let me tell you something. I've always had to set my own lane. I've always been different. And anyone that I've ever identified with and connected with was also different. And if we connected when I was 10, we're still connected now because we've been different. And it's always been the same, and we've escalated and grown. But it is really a sense of self that unless you have the discernment to develop it, where does it even begin? You have to find mentors, people that can come in and help, because if you don't have that in your household, you don't have that in school, you don't have an outside source to help you, you've really got the odds stacked against you.
All right. So, with that being said, let's go around the panel. Miss Bailey, what would you like to say on what are your thoughts or your concerns on that topic?
Okay. I understand what she was saying about, the community. Okay, let me ask you a question. What do you think if, like she was saying, okay, say if one member of the family goes, goes to college or whatever, she gets the knowledge or whatever. Anyway, she has the wisdom, she has the knowledge, and say the other members do not. And you say it's kind of like, how do you bring that like you said, the wisdom, how do you bring that back into the community, that family? How do you mend that? Because okay, I give you a good example. I see some things, like in my family, and I'm saying, okay, so why aren't we just doing like we did in the past, back then? Why is it not being implemented now to the younger generation? Why we stop doing it? What happened in our community that we stopped doing it? So then the other kids are following behind the other one. So how does it stop? How does it, how do we stop it do you understand what I'm saying?
Well,
I completely understand, because it's like, because you're caught up in the cycle, it's like a cyclone. And I think that, first of all, we can't save everybody or educate everybody. So
Right.
if people aren't receptive to knowledge, they're not going to be receptive of knowledge until they're ready to be. So for me, personally, in my journey, I have found it super important to connect to children. So whether it's working with ACS, going to schools, because these are the sponges. These are the ones, especially like Jacob said, he works with at-risk youth. I'm especially prone to working with at-risk youth because I was once an at-risk youth, and they are the ones that need to have people that push and inspire them to think bigger. We can't always help their parents because their parents might be, unfortunately, a lost cause. But if they're not, they may become receptive to it because of the knowledge that the child was able to bring home. rather than hearing it directly from somebody else where they'd be like, what are you talking about? So it can be an indirect thing, but I think that's definitely the biggest challenge that we face, right? How do you get the knowledge to teach people, hey, what are you doing every day? You're repeating the same thing. Do you know what you're doing with your kids? Do you see where you'll be 20 years from now? Will you even be here 20 years from now? And what about your children? What are you leaving for them? You got to make people really think on another level before they stop and go, damn, that's true.
And then they also have to see they also have to see a person doing, something that's gonna make them be inspired to do better themselves.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, something to emulate.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have to reject. We have to reject the world's thinking. We have to. Our biggest issue, what if we get rid of the feminist thinking, that'll be a quick turnaround for the Black community. A lot of what we're experiencing is the fact that we've got that white feminist mindset in our heads. That's why we at odds with our men. That's why our children don't obey us. All of that comes from us not trying to live the life of a Black woman. We're too busy trying to be a feminist. And how can you have a strong community when you walk around talking about you equal? I ain't equal to my man. He can't give birth like I can. I'm the person that is a portal to another dimension, not him. I'm the only one that can allow another being inside me, plant one inside of me, grow inside of me, give birth to that and feed both of them at the same time. So we ain't equal. And that is our problem. We so busy trying to be equal. We ain't supposed to be equal. You're supposed to be lifting me up. So the minute we can disregard that feminist mindset, we will do a 180-degree turn in our community.
Okay. It's getting hot up in here. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm just passionate about it. I hate that whole feminist thinking,
Doc. Hey, Doc, man. I appreciate it. So Queen Zetra. So let's hear you chime in on it, because you suave with it. So, I want you to chime in on that as well.
Okay, so as far as learning and bringing things back to family and things like that, one thing that my great grandmother always put in me is sometimes you have to realize your family begins with you and the family that you create from there on. She said you can talk and explain as much as you can, but sometimes you have to cut those ties off and start with you and going forward. Your children, your friends, whoever you surround yourself and that is what you consider family, that's where your change starts. She's like, you can't always reach, you want to reach back, but sometimes you can't reach back. And sometimes when it's coming from a family member or someone close where you wake up and start doing changes and realizing things, people are just like, oh, you're acting different. And sometimes people don't embrace that because it's you. And because they know how you were, they know your past, they know what you used to do or how you used to think, that they can't embrace your new way of thinking, your new way of living, and what you're willing to accept now. They want to hold you into that place of what you were. And sometimes you have to let those ties go in order to learn and be better for the next generations. If you're working with children, instilling that into the children so that it doesn't become generational and carry on with them. So that was one thing that she did teach me. And it was kind of weird because I'm like, well, that's your family. You're supposed to help your family. And she's like, no, baby, sometimes you got to let that family go. And as far as the whole feminism, yes, I agree with that. And once we let go that we're not equal, we are different, and it's for a design and it's for a reason. We don't want to do the same thing, men and women, that we can do as each other, because then why do we need each other? If you can hold a baby and give birth, why do I need you? We are created to be separate. Yes, we might be on same levels, but we're not equal to each other. And that's how you get to bigger places. That's how you achieve more, is understanding that you are different. You have different strengths, you have different weaknesses, and you can cover each other. That's the whole purpose, is to be able to cover each other and go to different levels. And you can't do that if you're competing against each other to have the same pay, to have the same jobs, to have the same thing. If we're competing, how are we ever going to get anywhere else? We're going to be at the same level fighting each other. And I think we do take on from other cultures, and we see them and we think, oh, we can have that too, but it works for them. And they're not trying to achieve what we're trying to achieve. We were built for more, to have more, to achieve more. And if we're lusting after other cultures and what they're doing, we're not going to get any further than what we are. We can outnumber people, but if we're not outsmarting them, we're going to stay beneath them. So I agree with that.
All right, man. So listen, man. This right here is this is evolving. This is evolution. This is getting hearts and minds and souls prepared, for understanding and enlightenment that most men would never encounter. And it's live on the Chatterbox with King Jacob, and the Queen Professors, as I would call you guys. So we're gonna take a quick commercial break, pay some bills, and we'll be back shortly. All right, we're back tuned in once again. King Jacob in the Chatterbox. So, the next discussion that we're gonna have in depth. How do Black women help men understand, Black men that is, understand the true essence of a Black woman and the identity of the spiritual Black woman? Yeah, doctor. Come on, good doctor. That's right. Yeah, doctor.
That ain't enough for discussion for between. It's nothing I can say to the man to do that. You got X chromosome. You got to study that X chromosome in yourself. The only reason it's put there, two reasons why the X chromosome is put in you. One is so you could submit to the true and living God, because without that X chromosome, you're not going to submit to him because you are him. You made in his image. Second is so that you can know how to deal with me. So until the Black man studies the X chromosome in himself and master the X chromosome himself, ain't nothing I can really teach him. He gonna learn that when he decides to submit and be woman-like, or use his feminine nature to submit to God. Then he'll learn how to deal with me at that point. That's a conversation between him and his Lord. I don't have anything to do with that conversation.
Okay, so, but you can, and that's a good point. So she broke that down so it can forever be broken. Wow. All I can say is, as my grandmama used to say back in the day, "Ooh, child." So listen. But understanding the true essence of a Black woman, and understand how to identify, that Black woman that understand her true essence. Can you chime in on that a little bit, and so you can give males a little bit more insight on that?
Well, I guess the only way I could do that is by my submission to do the will of God. If I exemplify him in feminine form, feminine energy, I can be God in feminine form. I can be creative, because creativity is feminine energy. So I could demonstrate I can maximize my divine femininity, and he can study that. So you can study the X chromosome without, but most importantly, he has to study the X chromosome within. What made my husband a better husband was not listening to me. What made him a better husband to me was his submission to do the will of God. The more he submitted to God, then the better he understood me, because he played like the same role. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like when you submit to God, that's that feminine nature that you tapping into, to submit to something greater than yourself. So what made him understand me was the more he submitted, the more he studied that X chromosome himself, the more he tried to balance his masculine energies with his feminine energies so that he could be God. That was the only way that he could really interact with me. Only thing I could do is be supportive to you while you go through that journey, because I'm a co-creative God. So I work with God. I'm not supposed to be an adversary to him. I'm not supposed to take you away from it. How I help you is when I'm on the street, I'm not showing you my breast. I ain't showing you my backside. I'm elevating your thinking, because when I come out there showing my wares, I'm taking your thinking and I'm pulling it down. So now I become an adversary of God. Now I'm working with the devil. I'm his partner. But when I take the man and I elevate his thinking, when I'm working in the prison with these young men, I tell them, I'm not meeting you on your level. You're gonna meet me on my level. I'm up here. I'm on God frequency. I'm not on 440. I'm on 432 and higher. So if you can't get on my frequency, we don't talk. So that is the way I interact with you, so that I'm working with God so that he can help cultivate you. But what happens in our community, we the first one to take a relationship sexual with a man, and then we can't understand why we can't get God-like actions out of him. We can't, because you're not approaching it as a God. You're approaching it, the relationship with him, as a devil. My job is to take you to the God, not to take you away from him. If I take you away from him, what am I gonna get? I'm gonna get a nigga. That's what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get a trifling nigga. But men change when the type of woman that they're dealing with. So it's up to you to study yourself, and that's how you're gonna learn how to deal with me.
That's right. That's right.
Have mercy. Hey, but listen,
Yes.
hey, listen, you know, this is like some Love Jones, you know, like you know, can we get some snap? So
That's
like,
just true.
no doubt, the truth with the capital T. That's right. So we're gonna go around the panel and let everybody chime in, because you know, it's flavor in here, and I need all that flavor for sure.
No, I completely agree. You can't teach a man how to identify with your womanly essence. You know what I mean? If he identifies with his own essence, he's going to be able to communicate with you on that level, and then there's an alignment. But if you're unevenly yoked, you're not going to get that. And in all honesty, people have to go through their own transformation. So it's probably best not to try to be in a relationship while you're undergoing the portion of understanding who you truly are. Because when you don't know who you are, in no way, shape, or form are you going to help the person that you're with feel more comfortable with who they are. And so again, there goes more internal and external conflict that's happening. And I think that this is just a continuous shift that's ever going. And we need to take the time to learn how to be comfortable with ourselves as men, as women. And then when we approach and we are in contact and in direct alignment with one another, it's just the energy. The energy is there, and we know who we are, kings and queens, you know. But if you haven't gotten there yet, how can you begin to identify with the essence of a queen? You're going to identify with the essence of a girl because you're a boy.
Right.
All right, there you have it. Hey, so I'm so glad that Queen Angela can make it, man. What's going on, Queen Angela? I know you have the technical difficulties, so we're talking about the essence of a woman and how a male can identify the true essence of a woman. So you know, I definitely want you to chime in on it and give us some of your flavor.
First of all, let me say hello to all the women on the panel. And I am so sorry. I was trying to get on. Look, the internet would not let me be great, but
Okay.
didn't give up. So that was one of the first things. I did not give up. And I was so excited about this topic because I am doing right now 12 women that I'm taking for transformation for 90 days in this last quarter, like going into the last quarter or a couple of months. And it all stemmed from excuse, it all stemmed from a movement I started called Amazingly Taking Your Power Back. And what that was me identifying who I was. I knew who I was with all the labels, but when the labels came off, I I kind of didn't know who I was. And so just doing a deeper dive. So I agree with what I've heard so far, because if you don't know who you are, it's very hard to connect on so many levels, especially with a male, or just trying to be in a space of just saying, I'm aligning myself with someone who you're not equally yoked with, like you just said, and just being in those spaces. So I had to identify who I was internally, and doing that, that started the healing process. And so when I'm on this transformation, this journey, and this healing, I don't have room to pretend I'm somebody else and then try to nurture someone who don't know who they are when I'm just discovering who I am. So that's how Amazingly Powerful came about. And that's how I started a deeper dive into where I am. And so when it came to the men, I had to step back, because I had to step back to say, listen, I need to do the work, and I need you to do the work. I need to work on the healing internally, if that makes sense. And it kind of lined up with not being the equally yoked, not taking some of the labels away. You can be doctor, you can be certified, you can have a PhD, you can have all these titles, but when you took them away, who are you? I'm one of God's favorites. I'm a child of God. I'm a queen. I'm all these things, and I had to identify what would that look like for me. So when I started doing a deeper dive into a relationship, into being single, or even getting to that point of just, conversating. I wanted to be intentional. I wanted to be present, and I wanted to be aware of everything that I was entering to. And so that was a conversation. And most men weren't trying to have that conversation to align with what I was asking, because they wanted to hear what they wanted to hear. They wanted to see what they wanted to see. And I had to understand I don't have to compromise when I know who I am. So I just want to leave it there, and pass the mic to someone else, because for me, knowing who you are has power. And it's a little deeper than just waking up saying, I know who I am. It was a soul searching. It was looking in the mirror, having that conversation, doing that check. So now someone come and tell me, oh my God, you're so beautiful, and tell me all these things. I receive it, but I'm gonna need more. I'm gonna need more. So you can't just give me that and think it's okay, because I need to see a little bit deeper. I never knew my father, so I had father issues. So the first man came and say, oh my God, you're daddy's baby. I melted, because I never heard those words. But then when I got internally and dug a little bit deeper, those words didn't have as much value as I thought they did, because those were just words. The actions were so much more powerful. So again, taking my power back, walking into the identity of who I am, who God called me to be. It was deep, and it's deep. So when I share that with men, it's very hard to stay on that same plateau or that same platform, or just in that same space, because that's not what they're trying to hear. That's not what they're looking for. And so I find myself a lot of times just not in that space at all, because I'm definitely centered with who I am. So again, that's pretty much what I have to add to it.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Let me kind of bounce off of what Angela was saying as far as taking your power back. That's the whole basis of my salon, which is called Crown Salon and Hair Clinic. The Crown Salon represents us taking our crowns back, putting it back, finding out what happened to our crowns. And that's my whole basis of what I'm trying to do here in North Carolina. And I think that's once women start taking our crowns back, we start knowing who we are as a people. I think things are starting to turn around, and that's why I think that I'm here in North Carolina to help the women here, to help them to gain their confidence back, to gain their centers back. And I think once we start doing that as a people, then things will start to shift. The men will start treating us different. The men would start to, and I'm that's what I'm hoping for.
And can I just iterate really quickly? I also work with the men because I just had a situation. I just came from back home. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, by way of Houston. Now I just moved to Houston a couple of months. I have been in Atlanta 25 years, and I discovered the men didn't know who they were either. So they didn't have power. So when I started calling them kings, it didn't resonate, but I had to go a little bit deeper because I had to say, listen, you are a king. So I'm going to give you a really quick one. I was visiting with my kid's father and his wife. And he kept talking about all the past and all the brokenness and all the things he experienced. And I shared with him, I said, I didn't get to see that side of you. God covered my eyes, so I don't know that side. Not that it doesn't exist. I said, but you are a king. I said, in the Bible, they used people like you. So I had to build, and I could see his posture changing. I could see, and I say, and I'm so blessed that God allowed you to find the wife that was good for us, for the family, because we're extended and blended. And she was so beautiful on the inside that it made me say, oh my God, this is like our family. This is, amazing. Do you know, he called me and he was emotional and he was crying and he said, thank you for setting me free because I didn't know. So I'm the author of a book because I didn't get to announce, like give who I was, but I'm an author of a book, Amazingly Powerful, Taking Your Power, 7 Ways to Take Your Power Back When You Didn't Even Know It Was Gone. There are women and men that did not know that their power was gone. So even tapping into that, that's powerful because you can say you're a man, you're a king, you're all these things. But when you don't know that, some things are missing, some things you didn't know, and you needed something to activate to make you understand you are not necessarily who you think you are, but because most people say there's one thing, but it's who you think you are. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, you are who you think you are, not who you say you are. So yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to throw that in real quick.
No problem at all. I appreciate it. Queen Z?
Okay, so I would have to say that probably before maybe a year ago, I couldn't explain to someone what the essence of a Black woman was because I was comprised of everything else. I was comprised of everybody else's standards, expectation, past experiences, not healing. I think sometimes we tend to forget, and forgetting and suppressing is not the same as healing because when those triggers come up, it takes you back into that place. So even then I could say, this is what I think a Black woman is, but how would I truly know if I don't even know me? Because me is based off of everyone else. So having to do that soul searching, and as I said, it is very painful, especially when you have to cut certain things off, certain things that you became comfortable and complacent with, and having to completely cut off, like it is painful. But with that, that's where you be able to explain it. And you can't explain it to someone that's not in a place to hear it. You can say, oh, tell me about a woman, tell me, but if you're not in a place to comprehend, not just listen, because I can talk at you for as long as you want, allow for me to talk at you. But if you're not taking anything of it in, then there was no purpose for that conversation until you're when you're in a place where you're willing to learn what the essence of a woman is, and you're willing to accept that and go on from there, not just to hear it because it sounds like beautiful words and I'm learning you and I'm appreciating you by showing you attention. It's like, okay, but if you're not moving on from there and applying it, then that conversation is void.
All righty then.
If I could
Oh
just
man.
add one thought to that, because
But
I love that. I think that once you've come to the point where you've realized who you are as a woman or as a man, and you have your essence and you have your confidence, you're strong in acknowledging your person and being okay with that, you're going to attract that. You know, I demand respect without having to demand respect. And it's been that way since I was younger. You know what I'm saying? So there's just a certain way that you carry yourself and people will treat you accordingly. So once you get there mentally, it's going to follow. Even people that will disrespect others will turn around and treat you with respect.
Exactly.
all right then. So we got about 10 minutes left. So the last and final topic of expression, um, the identity of a black woman. Um, how does that identity structure with self-development and spiritual alignment? And when she acquires that self-development and that spiritual alignment, um, how does it change the structure, the way she navigates through the journey of life?
You and these loaded questions, I swear. Right? He's like, we got 10 minutes, and let me ask you 320 questions in
Hey
one.
man,
Oh,
hey man. So it's scheduled for 10 minutes, but I know my questions don't be just ordinary questions. So if they should go over, I'll just take it out of love. So it's all good. So um, Dr. Muhammad, we gonna go ahead and start with you, cause you see, Dr. Muhammad has known me for a long time, and she knows that I'm always gonna bring them loaded questions, as you do too, Queen Q, and Queen Z. So, but Queen Bailey and Queen Tate, this is your first time on a show with me, but my questions are nothing short of amazingly intellectual. So, and that's why I have you ladies on here. So not only I can pick y'all brain apart, but y'all can elevate my mind and my soul. And so how I navigate through life, when I'm having these type of conversations with women, I've got some education from some certified queens. And so that's why all you ladies are on here this evening. So, Dr. Muhammad, carry on.
It's your loaded question. Okay. All right. So I would just say that it's imperative that we study the knowledge of God, because the study knowledge of God is to study the knowledge of self. As the deeper we understand Him, because He's constantly evolving, the definition of a woman is going to always evolve. It's going to always change.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like now, we're the most educated woman in America. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We've always been the most spiritual. I mean, it doesn't matter what difficulty we experience, we overcome it. That's just what we do. We like that Royal Empress tree, that tree that grows through concrete, the tree that don't need a lot of sunlight. That's us. So I would say, as long as we as Black women, we a spiritual being, as long as we stay connected, we're a conduit. A sister, a friend of mine, she told me, you a conduit. And a conduit is that device that energy can flow through. So as a Black woman, if we connected to the God, if we're in alignment, we become a conduit. And that's how energy flows. So if you're going to be a conduit, you're going to be a healer. You're going to be an inventor. You're going to be whatever you put your mind to it, because we energy. And as long as we understand that we energy, we're going to ever evolve, and we're going to ever be redefining who a Black woman truly is. Just like it ain't no birth date for us, it ain't no definition for us outside of we God. It is what it is. I mean, we are God. I mean, we bring forth life, so we God. So as long as we understand that and we stay in alignment with Him, we're gonna constantly evolve like Him.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Amen to that. I mean, you definitely got the right people on here for these loaded questions. That's for sure. But yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. And I think that being a healer, being an empath, when you're aligned, you're also going to affect people in your journey in a positive way. And you're going to conduct yourself that way. So, there's an unfortunate association of like the angry Black female, right? Which, if we're being passionate, speaking out, she's angry, she's mad, right? But even if you have been surged full of anger because of how you've been raised or your past traumas, when you are aligned, you learn to let all of that go and you're in harmony. So the people that you affect, even though you'll encounter those people that are still enraged, you'll be able to help calm them down. You become that medium of paying things forward, and those small acts of kindness and service that touch people and help them to go forward and do something better. So, like she was saying, you become a conduit, and that energy that you're putting forth is touching other people, and you realize that. And so therefore, you're very aware of how you speak to people, how you approach certain situations, how you conduct yourself, how you raise your children, how you, present yourself in front of others. And I think that is where a lot of that shift and that change, that positive change, begins.
Okay.
No, I definitely agree with that. And it's so much power, as they say, in the power of the tongue. The same thing you can break someone down with, you can build them up with. So it's all based off of how you're going to do it. And that's one thing I had to learn, is to know how much power you actually hold. And what you're putting out there. Sometimes I'll have to step back, because I'm like, the energy that I'm about to give is not going to be a good energy, and that's not going to affect those around me, and it'll bring it back onto myself. So I have to step back, get centered with myself, and then speak. So that way, when I'm speaking out, it's not out of place of anger or hurt or anything. It's out of place to let people know, hey, this is what happened. Here's how to move and proceed from here. Because if I destroy someone with my tongue, I'm therefore changing their atmosphere. I'm changing what they could have been doing. And who knows how you break someone down as that. And that's one thing with being a Black woman, is understanding that power. I mean, why do you think so much that government and stuff look at the Black woman as ways to bring down the Black man? Because they know what we can affect our males with, and how we can, make a difference with them. So that is very important, to understand that different power that you hold, and just being able to shift atmospheres and change energies, and just not taking all of that on. That's one thing, we tend to take everything on, but not everything is your assignment. Some things you just have to, let go of, but some things you have to realize what you're about to say or what you're about to do, and how that affects things. And that's one thing, is realizing the power that you hold, and that spirituality, and being centered with yourself, and having that relationship with God to understand where you are and what you can affect and what you can change.
Amen.
Yes.
Yes, um,
Ashe.
I think the true essence of ourselves is self-love. And once we learn to love ourselves, then it will emulate to the world, to other people, about who we are. And that's what I think I'm trying to exude to other people, is self-love. One thing I always say to everyone after I finish, speaking to them, I always say one love, and they'll say one love. I say, yeah, it means that just one love. That means we all should just love each other, regardless of our situation, our circumstances. It's always one love. And once we start to realize that that's what we need to emulate, and I think that we all will be able to come together, as one.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful.
Appreciate that.
I would say I totally agree with everything everyone has said, but my biggest thing right now in this season was self-love. So I teach self-care, self-love, because I realize people can't give you what they don't have. And so for me, I just heard so much closing out where I knew that there's power within for a woman, and we are strong. And sometimes you have to, like she said, be careful of how you use that power and that energy of breaking them down. So why not build them up? So I had to learn that, but that came out of self-love. That came out of healing. That came out of some things. My grandmother always taught me a woman sets the tone. So for me, I was always that woman that set the tone everywhere I went. And so whether it was a job, whether it was church, anywhere I went, I set the tone because that's what I was taught. And so it brought a different energy to how people approach me, how people came. So as a Black woman in this season now, it's crazy. I don't know how, why, but it's almost like Caucasians and every other race love my energy. They love me. And they even tried to isolate and say, oh my God, you're so different. No, I'm not. I'm not. Because if you get to know us, if you get to know one, we all have something different, but we definitely bring our presence. We definitely bring a sense of something to the table in the atmosphere. And I can feel when the atmosphere has shifted. I can feel when, it's a heaviness in the room. So as a Black woman, we bring a lot of power. And then there are women, again, of so many, I don't even know the word I want to use, that don't know their power within. And so it goes back to taking your power back that you didn't even realize was gone. So I always end with that because I want to be able to say that self-love. If you don't love yourself, how do you expect somebody else to love you on that level? If you don't know how you want to be treated because you've never stopped to treat yourself in a particular way, it makes it hard sometimes for people to treat you in the way you want to be treated because you're allowing things to happen. So I close out with self-love, self-care, and being intentional and present. And I use those words a lot in this season because it has a lot to do with the energy, the oral, and what you put out. So I do believe that there is power in your words. And it's not what other people are thinking about you. It's kind of what you're thinking about yourself. And as you guys see, my middle name legally is amazing without the G. Because God is amazing and I'm amazing. And I never had a middle name. So I liked myself enough to figure that out with the spiritual advisor. And we came to that conclusion. And I said, you know what? There's power in the name. So let's do it. So I use all that to teach, help, share, and embrace self-love, self-care, and the healing process to be able to be that strong Black woman.
All right then. The Chatterbox with King Jacob is always live, raw, and uncut. With that being said, just want to thank you, Queens, for bringing the excellence of intellectual discussion, on the show. And when I contacted all of you, it was like, I was thinking about, so who should I bring on the show? And then I was like, you know what, this is a live panel discussion. So with that being said, we had a live panel discussion. It went great. Everybody had valid points. Everybody gave me some great education, and they gave me the flavor that most males won't ever have in their life. So, it's the Chatterbox, King Jacob. So just want to thank you all for coming. And does anybody have any announcements?
Thank you.
I have an announcement, actually. There is an event coming up in New York City on the 31st. It's going to be a private media event for Pudgy the Fat Bastard. Many know him as a hip-hop legend, good friends with Tupac and Biggie, wrote for many like Missy Elliott and others. And he is launching a new album. I'm doing a private media event. So if you are media and looking to come in and hear what we have going on, send me an email. You can hit me up at www.goddessmedianyc.com or at Qiana the Goddess on all major social media platforms. And thank you for having me, Jacob. This was a fantastic and very necessary discussion.
You're definitely welcome. You're definitely welcome.
And I have an announcement too. I am an ambassador for Urban CEO, and we are having a block party in Atlanta on August the 29th. I think it's on a Sunday, yes. And if you're in the area, but if you are a business and you want to be featured on many different platforms, then definitely go to my page because I'm everywhere. And you can find me at I Am Coach Amazing on every platform. And on Facebook, I'm Angela Amazing Tate. But we are doing stuff for our Urban CEO magazine as well. And we are looking for vendors. We are looking for business owners, entrepreneurs to donate some of their business stuff, just so that they can be seen and put in the magazine. So we're definitely just trying to give back to the community and empower. So it's a free event for them, just so that people can come and share how to get started or how they've already started moving into different spaces of entrepreneur business owners, CEOs, and just, taking from being on one side of the fence to the other. So yeah, that's where. So yeah, that's it.
I did see that. I saw that. I think I'm going to come to that.
So make sure you register, because we're trying to get people registered. Everybody wait till the last minute. And we just want a head count because of COVID right now. So my job is to get everybody registered, do the tables. I did all the fundraising. We had our first one and it was very good, because you guys would not believe, we had a young entrepreneur who got the Hustle Award for our awards program we were doing. And this little girl grossed over 150,000 in 1 year at 23 years old. And she was moving and shaking. Now she's coaching and teaching. Unreal. Just, books, everything, just courses, how to start your business. It was crazy. So people started trucking companies. We had a lot of people in the house that was moving some things. And that's what we want to do. We want to empower our people and get the conversation started, because sometimes that's all.
I look forward to meeting you.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be flying out from Houston.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
I want to just want to challenge everyone to tune into Conversations with the Royal Empress. We're on YouTube, we on Facebook, we on Podbean, we on Apple Podcasts, we on the Google Play. So please listen in. We got some brothers that follow us too and listen. So our topics do expand over to help guide our brothers as well. But be looking out for my book. Is coming out next month. It is called Lioness: Awaken a Warrior Spirit Within. So
nice.
Yeah.
And I will chime in on the Royal Empress. I've had the chance to be on there a couple times and listen. All I can tell you is it's all there and then some. So and the Royal Empress podcast challenged me as a male, and we have spoke on some really, really divine type topics. So yeah, definitely support the good doctor, Hakima Muhammad. So she's always supported and she's for her people. So is there any more announcements?
I will be having my grand opening of Crown Salon next month in North Carolina.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Where in North Carolina?
In Hendersonville, North Carolina, in the mountains near Asheville.
Okay, near Asheville. Okay.
Yes.
Congrats.
Yeah,
Thank
congrats on that.
Congrats.
Well, I would like to stay connected to all you ladies, so I'm definitely going to figure out how to follow y'all since I got on so late.
I just followed you on Instagram, Angela.
Thank you. And so yeah, let's stay connected. This
definitely
is good. I think what's happening in this season is we are meeting people, but we're not actually aligning and connecting. And so I've been kind of making myself intentional about doing that.
Yeah,
And so I want to support everybody on this panel tonight because y'all are amazing. So listen, I done heard some good stuff.
Thank
So I
you.
feel
So
like
you
I
as
got a
well.
whole bunch of mentors tonight and some guidance. So I'm excited because this
Yes.
is new for me. And I want to stay in this space. So
Yeah.
I'm intentional about what kind of places I jump on, what
Mm-hmm.
spaces I'm in. And I felt like all four of you women definitely brought volume to where I was supposed to be, even at the last minute. So
Yes.
thank you for
Same.
that, Queen. Thank
Same
you so
Same.
much.
You
vibrations.
as
We're all in the
well.
same frequency.
Definitely.
So,
Definitely.
Queen Angela, to stay connected, you can just go on my page on my post. Everybody's name is tagged, their
Okay.
Facebook and their IG. And
Okay.
so for the announcements, if you ladies could tag me in your announcements, because I don't mean to be too my own horn, but everybody gonna come to my page and see what's going on for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. So definitely tag me in it, and I'm pretty sure some people gonna want to know what's going on, and they're gonna be inboxing me, and I just connect you. That's all. That's what I do.
Thank you.
Great stuff.
No
Thank
doubt.
you so much.
Thank you so much.
Listen.
No doubt. So until the next time, I'm gonna say peace, love, blessings, and thank you once again. And I'll definitely be in touch.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Bye,
ladies.
ladies.
Have a good
Bye,
weekend.
ladies.
Good night.
Stay blessed.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye
Good
bye.
night.